Alright, so today's adventure is going to be rescuing the round baler. I think I've told the story at least a couple times because I keep wanting to do this and I talk about it in other videos, but things come up so I don't end up fishing this thing out of the mud. Anyway, what happened is I bought a backup baler wheel. The tires on that were really nasty, so I took the wheels and tires off of this machine to put it on that machine to bring it back home. And when I did this, the ground was like ultra spongy. When I let the weight of this baler down, and to be fair, it's a pretty heavy machine. I want to say it's about 6,000 pounds. When I let the weight of this down on the jack stands, and these are jack stands with like a full plate bottom, not the ones that'll sink into the ground like a cookie cutter, it sounded like someone was wringing out a sponge. It was really bad. So, you know, I leave it like that. I go get the other baler, I come back, and this baler, like, it was straight up when I left it. It's like cattywampus like this, sinking down into the ground more on one side than the other. Like, man, this is not going to be good. You know, I can't leave this like that. So I take my larger floor jack, I put it back under there, I start jacking it up. You know, I'm going to fix the jack stand, maybe put some blocks of wood under it. And I'm just there, lifting away. And the whole thing falls over, basically. I was really lucky because I was standing like this with the jack handle here and it fell this way. If it had fallen this way, it would have been very, very bad and quite likely would have resulted in some type of horrific injury, which, I don't know, you can speculate, but whatever the case, I'm very glad it did not happen. Problem is now this thing's been sitting there for a week or two, something like that, because I wanted to wait for the ground to dry out at least a little bit before I try and rescue this, and I guess we're going to try to lift it up with the rear hitch on the 7060, because I think that's about the only thing around here that'll pick it up. I'm pretty sure my 6-cylinder case tractor would do it if the hydraulics were working 100%, but I don't think they are. I just got that thing. I haven't really had time to mess with it too much. So yesterday was a fairly miserable experience, I will be honest with you guys. Lucky, you've got to be kidding me. Go pee somewhere else. Oh, alright, anyway. Yeah, yesterday was a fairly miserable experience. Just keeps getting better, but I cannot really complain too much. You can see that I propped this side of the deal up on a stump and a piece of wood, which broke because it's wood and that's what it always does. That's why I make stuff out of steel. Over here, the baler has not fallen into the pit, which is good. And but you can see that chunk of wood is sunk down quite a bit. I think what's really best at this point, because there's really no feasible way to jack that up right now. Even if I shove dirt under that wheel, it's just going to get compressed. I think really the only thing I can do is try and pull this thing out and hope nothing too crazy important catches. I think the pickup is probably gonna clear. Man, I hate doing stuff like this. That's the thing though, it doesn't really matter if I like doing stuff like this or not. Like yesterday, I really didn't want to come out here and dig these holes and mess with this thing. But when you got stuff you don't want to do, you really have two options. You can sit around and whine and complain about it and make excuses and procrastinate, or you can just grab the pickaxe and start chopping. And to be fair, this actually did take considerably less time than I was expecting it to yesterday. Alright, I'm very happy that the baler's out. I think that was successful. I don't think we caught anything ripping this out of here. Oh, what a mess. Alright, so we got the baler in the shop. It's after lunch now. Earlier on today, you guys, if you watch the earlier videos, there's a whole bunch of stuff out in this general area. For instance, I had a garden tiller that I've been waiting until it dries out enough to actually use to assemble, like it was shipped in not really pieces, but sections, I would say. Realized that's probably not going to happen for a while, and instead of working around this thing, I put that all together this morning so I could get rid of all the pallet and everything, and I moved the rest of the stuff. So, this is now in the shop, which is good because there's probably some other maintenance stuff I'll have to do on this from the use it had last year. And I'm looking, it appears that the machine was damaged at least a little bit in that whole ordeal. This wheel on the pickup, as you can see, it's sticking out all cattywampus. And the concerning part about that is I don't actually know why. It looks like that Barzon is, you know, straight and the wheel itself looks fine. So I really hope we didn't damage like the sidewall of that pickup or anything. Other than that, when I was putting one of these wheels on, I could see the grease seal for that hub just like flopping around in the breeze there. So, you know, that's probably all full of dirt and everything. So we definitely gotta repackify those. But underneath here, I looked at this a little bit when it was still on the ground. Underneath here, praise the Lord, I don't think there's really anything that got damaged and all that. On the back of the machine, this thing here, this is called the bale ramp. Basically, when the bale comes out the back of this machine, it hits this and it folds down like that, then it rolls, then this comes back up. It keeps the bale from rolling back into the machine. This has been bent ever since I got it. As you can see, it is now a little more bent because that spot of missing paint right there in the middle is where it landed on the jack. But to be honest, I don't really know. I don't think I'm gonna straighten that because like I said, it was 80% this bad when I got the machine, and it doesn't actually impair fixing it. And to fix this, I'm gonna have to like deal with all those springs which are under a lot of tension, and I guess somehow, I don't know, this thing's too big to fit in my press. I don't like it, but you know, like I said, it was largely like that when I got it, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. Let's take a look at these hubs and see how much dirt and water and filth got in them. Look at that. Alright, well, the seal was fine last spring. That means that it failed probably during hay season, and that's why there's this hay-packed grease everywhere. Come on. There we go. Okay, what a mess. Alright, I'm pretty sure. Yep, and there's what's left of that. Ugh. I am pretty sure the bearing itself is reusable. It looks like all this stuff stayed pretty well to the outside of it. Alright, so, been working on this, And I'm pretty sure these bearings, especially that back one, are going to be completely salvageable. This is turning really smooth. I don't really see anything wrong with it. I'm not a mechanic, but it looks fine to me. I removed a large amount of like old ancient hard packed grease from this. I think if I remember correctly last spring when I messed with the hubs and the bearings on this, I didn't really realize, like this is before I really knew how grease seals worked, and I thought they were like pressed in. It was a whole ordeal to change and everything. And you know, obviously now I know that's not the case, so I'm pretty sure I just added some grease to this, which might have been what what actually saved it once that hub seal popped out. But whatever the case, we got these. These are the SKF 22392s, Mexico's finest, and these fit the other baler. Yeah, that should definitely work. All right. Hey, this is exciting. It's actually pretty cool to get to service a machine that I've worked with and been using this year. Obviously, due to the rainfall situation, I did not get to use it nearly as much as I would have liked to, but it's different because most things I work on here, you know, I work on them a little bit at a time as I have time, and a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the old tractors, for instance, I've not gotten to take them out into the field yet. You know, like that Ford 820 that's sitting over there, I've been working on that off and on. You know, every couple weeks or every month or so, I'll find a free afternoon and I'll mess with it. They'll be out there sooner or later. I plan to put everything I have to work. All right, let's see. Well, oh yeah, it's already 10 times smoother. This grease, what is this stuff? This is some NLGI number 2 grease. It was a little more expensive than the stuff I put in everything previously. I hope it's worth it. But it's the red grease. I've seen a lot of people use this red grease on farm equipment, so I don't know if the color really means anything, but assuming it does, it's a pretty popular choice. Hopefully there's a reason for that. I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling as I do this. This is oddly relaxing, you know, it's like putting new tires on on equipment, you know. Anyway, where I was going with that, this grease is pretty thick stuff. That's gonna be nice when I'm moving a machine that's, you know, got a lot of moving parts in it when it's 110 degrees outside here in Texas. Yeah, we'll add in a little more here. Alright, that's feeling pretty good to me, so we're gonna shove that in there. Alright, now the smaller front bearing, this is the one that I did fully take apart and clean up and repack. And this is, well, I guess I didn't take it apart, I fully removed it out of the hub instead of just adding grease to it and repacked it. This came clean 10 times easier. Like, I realize it's smaller, so you kind of expect that, but it was a night and day difference with the condition of the grease that was inside it. It wasn't all thick and nasty and old like the stuff on that back hub, and yeah, this was in much better shape. Alright, gotta be careful because I do not want grit getting into that. Let's see here. You know what, I'll just get the hammer dirty. I don't really care. I hope you guys can see this because I can't really adjust the camera right now. Alright, let's see. Goes that way, I'm pretty sure. And I got the surface that this seals up against clean as well. There's probably a trick to getting a seal like this over a mating surface like that. I don't really know what it is, so I just kind of sit here and turn it until it feels like it's on. I do not want to fold this over and wreck this nice new seal. There we go, it's on. Front bearing. Oh. Uh-oh, I think I got it kind of wedged on there. Alright, that should seat these bearings. Okay, alright, cotter pin. I'm going to back this off until there's some noticeable back and forth movement. In fact, you can hear it. Now we're going to tighten this up until that goes away. Maybe just a tiny little bit. I'd rather have this a tiny bit too loose than a tiny bit too tight. Pretty sure that is it. I'm gonna get some bigger cotter pins though. These don't fit all that well. Great, now on to the other side. So I'm very happy to report that this wheel was in much better shape. The camera's SD card filled up because I guess I filmed for like over an hour the other day taking this stuff out. Anyway, yeah, I got the wheel back on there, and I guess there's a couple other things we have to deal with. One is that the wheel that's supposed to ride about like there just straight up fell off as is going through the field. And what do you think of this, Mr. Lucky? Yeah, so I gotta remember where I set that. I think I know. I gotta go find it. And the main thing is we have to deal with this. Now, unfortunately, New Holland, when they designed this pickup, they said, how many pieces of material can we use to enclose this? So it's their million-piece pickup design. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to come off, and try to figure out exactly what's bent, and hopefully we can fix it. Everything seems to be working okay. These chains need some adjustment, but I mean, other than that, I think this housing is just plain bent. I know that people do farm without a full metalworking shop, but man, I really wonder how. Alright, so, oh my goodness, I was able to we were able to installify this thing. It is not 100% perfectly straight. I don't think it's gonna be 100% perfectly straight, but it's within a few degrees. So for what it is, I think that's just as good as it gets. The other thing is, since the wheel on the other side, I'm pretty sure it was the other, yeah, it was the other side, it just straight up fell off the machine as I'm cruising through the field one day. I made it a point to put some lock nuts on this and ooga booga them down pretty well with the old impact wrench. Now, overall, I really like this machine. I think it's a good baler, but there are some things that I don't like about it. For instance, the idlers on it are plastic. This is a signature Fiat New Holland design. That is literally a block of plastic, and you can see the chain eats away at it. I mean, it does hold up. You know, that's one of those deals where New Holland figured out they can save a few bucks a baler by not putting a normal idler gear in here and literally just putting a chunk of plastic. Another thing I don't like about the baler is taking apart this pickup is just a pain in the rear end. There's like 3 or 4 different sizes of hardware on this. It just mix matched for no apparent reason, metric and SAE bolts. I don't really blame New Holland for this. I think the guy I bought it from told me he'd done something or other to the pickup, and I'm fairly certain he just stuck it back together with every bolt and nut he could find in the shed. So that's why it takes this entire menagerie of sockets and tools to take off like 3 pieces of metal. Anyway, so that's done. Oh yeah, and the other thing, I decided I'm just not going to put the guards back on this. I know that sounds bad, but the problem is there's a number of problems. You can't actually see this chain. This was super loose. It was like flopping all over the place in here. You can't actually see it. You have no ability to tell if it's in or out of adjustment. It's very difficult to lubricate and maintain when it's enclosed in that box. But you say, Chucky, it's enclosed in a box. That's how you make sure junk doesn't get in here. No, junk gets in here. I did not bale that many bales last year due to the rainfall situation. You can see there's all that debris. It was like, Lucky, all right, stop poking at me. I gotta make second-rate videos. It was like this filled with junk. It was that filled with junk. And so obviously that doesn't work. It gets in there all sorts of different ways. I think mainly through the pickup. Like if you look, there's, I don't know, I'm pretty sure there's an opening like on the back side of this gear into that pickup where all the hay goes up into the baler. So it fills with garbage. You can't see it, you can't maintain it. We're just not gonna put those guards back on. And I know you say, wow, you know, you can't have random, you know, it's gonna be full of road dust and everything. But well, this isn't a very good example. There's just one chain over here. Most of the chains are on the other side of the baler, but I mean, we have to keep in mind it's his farm equipment, and I mean, there's pretty much just chains and gears and sprockets everywhere, so I don't think it'll actually cause any problems. You know, sometimes you really got to be careful with stuff like this. It's a slippery slope. There's things that definitely need to have guards on them. But you know, a lot of the time it's not that hard to stay away from running machinery. The only time I'm ever close to anything when it's running is when I'm just dumping oil on the chains from, like, you know, arm's length or whatever. So it should be fine. We all know that one guy though who would like have this running full chooch and be like resting his foot up here as he jacks with chains in here and whatnot. So anyway, I guess I'm just kind of rambling. Anyway, I think that the baler is in pretty good shape. There's no actual damage that was done to it other than that over there from what I can tell. We ran it, sounds as good as a sledge gear baler sounds. I think it'll be fine, and anyway, that was one completely miserable adventure. I'd like to thank you for sharing in this aforementioned miserable experience with me, and hopefully your luck is better than mine.